He signed divorce papers and walked away from his newborn twins because they were girls. 2 little lives he could have cherished, 2 daughters who would one day destroy everything he thought he owned. And he believed in that moment he had just saved his future. He had no idea he had just sown the seeds of his own ruin. Hello, friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? From the moment Ethan Blackwood could remember, poverty had a face, and it was his own. In a cramped Ohio apartment, Ethan watched his mother, Margaret, stretch every penny, while his father struggled with debts that never seemed to end. One bitter winter morning, Ethan showed up at school wearing patched shoes. A classmate sneered, "Maybe if your father wasn't useless, you'd have real shoes." The words pierced deeper than the cold. Humiliation burned through his chest, shaping every ambition, every thought. "I will never be poor," Ethan whispered to himself, eyes fixed on glossy magazines of mansions, luxury cars, and men whose names were already legends. Money wasn't comfort. Money was survival, respect, power, and he would have it, no matter the cost. Years later, Ethan had charm, ambition, and a sharp mind, but not the fortune he craved. Marriage was a shortcut to wealth, a key to the world he wanted. But Margaret had other plans. "You will marry Ava Johnson," she said firmly. "She is intelligent, kind, and will make a good wife." Ethan's gaze hardened. Ava, soft-spoken, brilliant, beautiful, was not rich, not connected, not a golden ticket. "This marriage will ruin me," he said coldly. "If this marriage fails, I will never forgive you," Ethan added to his mother, a subtle threat that foreshadowed the storm to come. Ava entered his life with hope, believing love could grow, that patience could thaw even a man like Ethan. But he never warmed to her presence. To him, she was a delay, an inconvenience standing between him and the empire he dreamed of building. One night, Ava tried again. Tentatively, she reached for him. "Why don't you ever touch me?" she asked softly. Ethan's eyes were ice. "I married you to live my life, not to lose it in comfort." Ava didn't cry. She didn't argue. She simply turned away, and that silence hurt him less than tears would have. Then came the news that would change everything. Ava was pregnant. For a moment, Ethan felt nothing. Hope flickered in Ava's eyes. She imagined family, warmth, a life built together. The doctor smiled, delivering the words casually. "It's twins, and they're girls." Ethan's face remained stone. He whispered to himself, voice cold and final, "This ends my life." When Lily and Grace were born, they were perfect, tiny miracles he refused to acknowledge. For Ethan, they were obstacles, reminders of his mother's character over money nonsense, chains he did not want to carry. A week later, divorce papers appeared on the table. Ava, exhausted from childbirth, looked at him with fragile hope. "I thought we could try to make this work," she murmured. Ethan's gaze was steel. "I wanted a future. You gave me 2 girls and a lifetime of expenses." "Expenses?" Ava whispered, disbelief cracking her voice. The word echoed in the room, sharp, impossible to forget. Ethan left. No hand to hold, no apology, no glance back. To him, it wasn't cruelty. It was strategy, a calculated choice to pursue the life he believed he deserved. Ethan didn't see Daniel Carter waiting in the wings. Daniel, Ava's former classmate, had admired her brilliance silently for years. Now a rising billionaire investor, he observed her struggle from afar, calculating his own risks. Helping Ava would put him on a collision course with men far more ruthless than Ethan. Not comfort, not safety, danger. But he was never the type to back away from the storm. Ethan Blackwood believed abandoning his daughters saved his future. He didn't know he had just created the women who would destroy his empire, and the man helping Ava wasn't just rich, he was ruthless. Daniel makes his first bold move. Ava steps into the billionaire world, and the twins' destinies begin to shape, while Ethan remains blind to the storm he set in motion. Ethan Blackwood believed abandoning his daughters erased them forever. He didn't know his ex-wife was about to enter a billionaire war zone with a man powerful enough to destroy empires. And once you enter that world, you don't leave without blood on your hands. Life didn't become poetic after the divorce. It became brutal. One evening, Ava stood in a bank office, Lily asleep on her chest, Grace crying softly in her stroller. The loan officer didn't even look embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Miss Johnson. Single income, no collateral, no guarantor." Ava nodded, forcing composure, but her hands shook as she signed the rejection slip. Outside, rain soaked her coat. Her phone buzzed. Another overdue notice. Electricity this time. A woman passing by muttered, not unkindly, "Hard doing it alone, huh?" Alone. That word stayed with Ava all night. She cried silently so her daughters wouldn't hear. Then, when they finally slept, she opened her laptop, not to dream, but to survive. That's when Daniel Carter's message appeared. "If you want help, meet me tomorrow. Understand this first. Help from me changes lives. It also ruins some." Daniel didn't meet Ava in a cafe or charity office. He met her in a glass tower overlooking Manhattan, where billion-dollar decisions were made before lunch. He listened. He didn't interrupt. Then he stood, walked to the window, and made a call. "Cancel the acquisition," Daniel said calmly. A voice protested on the other end. Daniel's reply was ice. "I don't negotiate twice." He ended the call and turned back to Ava. "That company employed 3,000 people. By tomorrow, it'll collapse. Someone tried to block my expansion." Ava's breath caught. "You destroyed them?" Daniel didn't smile. "They destroyed themselves by standing in my way." That was the moment Ava understood. This wasn't rescue. This was alignment. Daniel leaned closer. "I can open doors for you, but once you walk through them, you don't get to pretend you're innocent." Ava thought of the bank, the bills, her daughters. She nodded. Across the city, Ethan Blackwood was proving why he was dangerous. A smaller tech firm refused to sell. Ethan didn't argue. He bought their debt instead. Within weeks, the founder lost everything: company, reputation, marriage. At a private dinner, someone joked, "That was ruthless." Ethan sipped his drink. Power isn't about winning. It's about teaching people not to challenge you. This was the man Ava had escaped, and the man she would one day face again. Daniel didn't give Ava money. He gave her pressure. She sat in meetings where men twice her age dismissed her politely. She made mistakes. One bad investment cost months of progress. Daniel didn't soften it. "That loss was your fault. Remember it. Pain is a better teacher than success." At night, Ava doubted herself. Luxury felt foreign, hostile. She wore expensive clothes but felt like an intruder. Meanwhile, the twins were still small, too young to understand war. Ava kept them away from the world she was entering. This wasn't their fight yet. Weeks later, Daniel closed a discreet deal, one that quietly absorbed a logistics company. That company happened to be a key supplier for Blackwood Industries. Ethan noticed the disruption immediately. "Who the hell bought them?" he snapped. A name crossed his desk. Carter Holdings. Ethan paused. Not fear, interest. That night, Ethan flipped through a business magazine. A feature headline caught his eye. Rising Strategist, Ava Carter, the quiet force behind Carter Holdings. The photo stopped him cold. Her posture, her eyes, impossible. His fingers tightened around the magazine until the page creased. "Ava?" he whispered. For the first time in years, something unsettled him. Ethan Blackwood didn't know his empire had already crossed paths with Ava's. He didn't know the next move would force one of them to bleed, and it wouldn't be Ava.
Ethan Blackwood didn't know it yet, but he had already stepped onto Ava's battlefield. Every move he made, every empire he crushed, had unknowingly stirred a storm he couldn't control. And tonight, that storm was about to strike back. Ethan had discovered a minor disruption in his logistics chain, a supplier acting strangely, shipments delayed. It annoyed him more than it should. His instincts told him it was sabotage. He didn't investigate, he acted. Within 48 hours, Ethan launched a hostile takeover bid for the small company, paying double its worth in cash, crushing the board, freezing all operations. Employees lost jobs, contracts were terminated, competitors were left scrambling. This was his signature move, ruthless, calculated, precise. He sat back in his leather chair, swirling bourbon, satisfied. I don't make threats, I make consequences. Little did he know, the supplier he destroyed wasn't just a minor cog, it was one of Daniel Carter's quiet acquisitions. Ava learned of the collapse the next morning. She stared at the reports, stomach tight, heart racing. Her first thought wasn't panic, it was fear. The deal she had trusted to Daniel's judgment had failed. The employees she wanted to protect were suddenly out of work. Revenue would be delayed. Investors were nervous. She looked at Daniel, expecting a lifeline. "That was your fault," Daniel said bluntly, scanning charts. "You didn't vet it properly. You didn't foresee the connections. You must do better." Ava felt anger, disbelief, humiliation. She had followed Daniel's guidance faithfully, yet the consequences landed on her shoulders. She clenched her fists, imagining the small supplier she had tried to save, now gone. She wanted to scream, but she couldn't, not yet. Survival demanded silence. Daniel rarely failed, but even he was human. In his rush to expand Carter Holdings, he underestimated Ethan's reach. His assumption that Ava's rise was unnoticed in the billionaire ecosystem was wrong. The mistake was small, a minor shipment, a delayed contract, but it was enough for Ethan to strike, and enough to remind Ava even the strongest allies could falter. "Even the best can stumble," Daniel said, his voice low, almost apologetic. "And the enemy doesn't wait." Ava nodded. She didn't forgive him, she couldn't, but she needed him, and this was her lesson. Wealth is survival. Morality is optional. Ava called the supplier who had lost everything. The owner, frantic and desperate, begged her for guidance. "I trusted you," he said, trembling. "I thought you were different." Ava's stomach twisted. Daniel had been right. The cost of empire was blood. She promised to help where she could, but she couldn't undo Daniel's decisions. For the first time, Ava understood fully. Revenge wouldn't feel clean, it wouldn't feel fair, and it might hurt more than the person it targeted. But the thought of Ethan's smug face, of the man who left her and her daughters in poverty, kept her resolve sharp. Lily and Grace, still small, watched her mother quietly. Even at 5 years old, they noticed her stress, her grim determination, her refusal to cry in front of them. Ava whispered to herself while tucking them in, "I will make them strong, strong enough that no one, not even Ethan, can ever hurt us again." The twins' education in resilience had only just begun. Meanwhile, Ethan sipped champagne in his office, eyes scanning contracts. Something unsettled him, a pattern he couldn't place, minor disruptions, subtle challenges from competitors that didn't exist a week ago. And then the magazine arrived again, this time a full cover. Ava Carter, rising strategist reshaping Carter Holdings. The photo, sharp suit, piercing eyes, calm confidence. Ethan's fingers tightened around the magazine until the corner creased. He didn't smile. He didn't move. "She's back," he murmured, low and dangerous. For the first time, he felt a flicker of caution, a glimmer that maybe he had underestimated her. Ava and Daniel now knew something. The war had officially begun. The first blow had landed. Daniel's mistake cost Ava, but it had also revealed Ethan's reach. The predator was active, aware, and ruthless. Ava realized one thing with clarity. This wasn't just about business, it was personal. And the moment she thought of Ethan's face when her empire grew, her chest tightened, not with fear, but with the cold satisfaction of inevitability. Ethan Blackwood thought he was untouchable. He didn't know the rising empire he crushed yesterday was already learning how to strike back, and the next collision wouldn't be a financial skirmish, it would be personal.
Ethan Blackwood froze 3 contracts overnight. By morning, Ava Carter had lost $12 million. Only then did he decide she needed to be crushed. Ava found out at 6:12 a.m. Her phone kept vibrating, missed calls, alerts, red numbers bleeding across her screen. One of her largest international investors had pulled out, publicly. The reason cited was vague, concerns over operational stability. Daniel arrived minutes later, silent, already reading the damage. $12 million gone, Ava said quietly. Her voice didn't shake, her hands did. That investor was pressured. Blackwood froze their logistics contracts. He made them choose. Ava closed her eyes. This wasn't a warning. This was a declaration. In his glass tower, Ethan reviewed the fallout with satisfaction. "Make sure it's public," he told his legal team. "I want the market to see hesitation. Fear spreads faster than facts." An advisor hesitated. "Sir, Carter Holdings may retaliate." Ethan leaned back, calm, predatory. "Good. That means she knows I see her." This wasn't about profit anymore. This was dominance. Daniel didn't waste time. "I can counterattack. Hard. We collapse one of his regional partners. Thousands lose jobs, but Blackwood bleeds." Ava stared at the city outside the window. Somewhere below, people lived ordinary lives. People who had nothing to do with her war. "No," she said. Daniel turned sharply. "If you hesitate, you lose momentum." "I won't win by becoming him," Ava replied. There was a pause. Daniel nodded once. "Then understand the cost." By evening, another investor suspended negotiations, not pulled out, paused. Uncertainty was spreading. Ava had chosen morality, and it was already hurting her. Daniel attempted pressure, quiet calls, strategic warnings. One target refused him. A regional financier laughed over the phone. "Carter's influence isn't absolute," he said. Blackwood made sure of that. Daniel ended the call slowly. For the first time in years, someone had called his bluff. He said nothing to Ava, but the silence told her everything. That night, Ava worked at the dining table, papers spread everywhere. Lily sat nearby, pretending to draw. After a while, she looked up. "Mom," she said, "every time your phone rings, you stop writing." Ava froze. Grace added softly. And when it doesn't ring, you look more scared. Ava said nothing. The girls exchanged a glance, an understanding too old for their ages. They didn't need explanations. They were already learning. The final blow came quietly. Ava's legal team rushed in with grim faces. "Miss Carter, Blackwood Industries has filed an injunction. They're accusing one of your subsidiaries of regulatory violations." False, strategic, devastating. Operations were frozen pending investigation. The news leaked within hours. By nightfall, Ava Carter was trending, not as a rising strategist, but as a risk. She stood alone in her office, long after everyone left. This wasn't positioning anymore. This was war, and there was no undoing it. Ethan read the headlines with interest. "So," he murmured, "she chose restraint." He smiled, not kindly. "Let's see how long that lasts." Ava believed morality would protect her family. Ethan Blackwood had already decided which of them would pay first. Ava is forced into a decision that endangers her daughters. Daniel loses something he can't replace, and Ethan crosses a line that can never be uncrossed.
Ava Carter didn't just lose contracts, she lost control of the battlefield. And now, Ethan Blackwood had found her weakness, her family. Ethan didn't strike her business this time, he struck her life. A courier appeared at Ava's penthouse with a photo envelope. Lily and Grace smiling innocently at the playground. Handwritten note, "You can save your empire, or you can save them." Ethan's message was clear. He could hurt the twins if she didn't yield. Ava's heart stopped. Not rage, not fear, real, visceral terror. For years, she had built her empire to protect them. Now, for the first time, it wasn't enough. Daniel paced beside her, reading the note, calculating the risks. "We can fight back immediately," he said. "We can expose Blackwood publicly. We can ruin him financially." Ava shook her head. "And if he retaliates, the girls could be next. I can't gamble with them. Not like this." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then you accept loss. Your empire, your investments, everything you fought for, it's in danger." Ava closed her eyes. The city skyline reflected in her office windows. Billions of dollars, rising influence, ruthless strategies. Everything she had built could crumble in an instant. And all for the safety of two little girls. In the chaos, Daniel made a misstep. A key investor, frustrated with the delays and the public scandal, withdrew permanently. This investor's stake had funded a critical acquisition, one that Ava had been counting on to stabilize operations. Daniel called the investor repeatedly, pleaded, negotiated, threatened. Nothing worked. "They're gone," Daniel said quietly. "I've never lost someone like that before." Ava placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we survive without them. We adapt. We always adapt." Even Daniel, the ruthless billionaire, learned that even the strongest strategies had vulnerabilities. That afternoon, Ava decided to take Lily and Grace to a private, safe location outside the city. On the drive, Lily noticed Ava checking her phone constantly. "Mom, why do you keep looking?" "I'm making sure we're safe," Ava said. Grace, sitting beside her sister, furrowed her brow. "Is someone trying to hurt us?" Ava didn't lie. "Yes, but we're together. That's what matters." The girls exchanged a glance. No lectures, no lessons, just observation. Fear, strategy, and awareness were being taught silently. For the first time, Ava realized her daughters were already learning to navigate danger. Ethan, across the city, monitored the fallout.
The injunction, the lost investor, the media coverage, it was only the beginning. He smiled coldly as he imagined Ava weighing her daughter's safety against her empire. "Let's see how she chooses," he muttered. "Blood always demands a price." Ethan wasn't just attacking businesses anymore, he was attacking the heart of the family, and Ava's choice would determine who paid first. By evening, Ava gathered Daniel in the war room. "We can't go on the offensive," she said. "I won't risk the girls, but we can protect what we can." Daniel, frustrated but loyal, nodded. "We're adapting. Defensive strategy, then counterattack. Slow, calculated, painful, but survivable." It was a compromise that cost her immediate progress, cost her billions in projected gains, and set her back months in her battle against Ethan. But she had made the moral choice, and for her daughters, it was worth everything. To cement his advantage, Ethan released subtle hints to the press. "Carter Holdings is facing internal instability. We are watching closely." The media ran wild. Analysts speculated. Investors panicked. Ava's empire was shaken. Daniel's calculations disrupted. And the twins, though physically safe, had first time witnessed that their mother's fight was dangerous, relentless, impersonal. Ethan had drawn blood without firing a single shot. He had created a battlefield where morality itself was a liability. Ava had chosen morality over power. She had sacrificed billions, a key investor, and momentum. But Ethan Blackwood had already determined who would pay first, and the next move would make one of them bleed irreversibly. Ethan escalates further, targeting the twins directly. Daniel faces his greatest failure, and Ava must confront a choice that could shatter her family forever.
Ethan Blackwood didn't wait for negotiations, lawsuits, or boardroom theatrics. He had a new target: 2 small lives, innocent and unprotected. 2 little girls who carried his past mistakes. Lily and Grace were now his leverage, and the clock was ticking. Ava had thought moving them to a safe house outside the city would protect them. She underestimated Ethan. Late that night, a sleek black SUV followed them from a distance. Cameras caught the girls' every move. Security footage leaked anonymously. Ava's phone buzzed. A simple text. No sender, no signature. One wrong move and they'll pay. EB. Her hands shook. Her mind raced. Every strategy, every investment, every calculated risk suddenly meant nothing. The twins' safety was paramount. She realized Ethan didn't just want to dominate her business. He wanted to break her morally, force her to choose empire or family. Daniel had tried to counter quietly, using his usual influence and ruthlessness. But Ethan had anticipated him. Every investor Daniel approached, every back-channel negotiation had already been compromised. By morning, Daniel faced his first catastrophic miscalculation. A legal injunction frozen a $50 million deal he had counted on to stabilize Ava's operations. He paced the war room, slamming his fist. "I've never failed like this. Never." Ava placed a hand on his arm. "We survive. We adapt. That's all we can do." Even the strongest strategist could fail. Even the richest, most ruthless man could be caught off guard. And Daniel knew now Ethan Blackwood was not just a threat, he was a predator. By noon, the pressure was unbearable. Another anonymous message arrived. "If you continue to fight, one of them will disappear. Choose wisely." Ava collapsed into her chair. Her empire, her reputation, years of strategy, all meaningless if her daughters were harmed. She looked at Daniel. "We have to negotiate. We have to give him something, anything. I won't risk them." Daniel's jaw tightened. "He'll never stop. Once you show weakness, he escalates." "I don't care," Ava said. "I refuse to let them hurt my daughters for revenge." She made the choice. She sacrificed immediate business gains, withdrew aggressive legal actions, and released partial concessions to Ethan. It cost billions in projected revenue and months of hard-fought deals. But her daughters, they remained safe. The twins noticed the tension that day. Lily and Grace, playing quietly in the war room while Ava handled phone calls, realized the stakes without explanation. Lily pointed to the phone, noticing Ava's shaking hand. "Mom, is he gonna hurt us?" Ava swallowed hard. "He can't, not if we're smart." Grace, older by a second in observation, whispered, "We have to learn how to see the danger before it sees us." The girls weren't just learning strategy, they were learning survival. And the lessons came through fear, not lectures. Across the city, Ethan monitored the fallout with cold amusement. He had forced Ava into a choice that blew apart months of her progress. He had demonstrated control. He had reminded her, and everyone watching, that morality came at a price. Ethan leaned back in his chair. "So she chooses them over the empire. Good, that's exactly what I wanted." But there was something he didn't anticipate. Ava's restraint wasn't weakness, it was patience. And patience in war was often more dangerous than brute force. By the end of the day, Ava had sacrificed billions in projected deals. Daniel had suffered a major, irreversible setback. The twins had witnessed the stakes of survival firsthand. Ethan had escalated to personal, moral, and psychological warfare. The battlefield had shifted. From this moment onward, nothing would ever be the same. The war was no longer corporate. It was personal. It was ruthless. And it was only beginning. Ava had chosen her daughters over her empire. Daniel had faced failure he couldn't immediately fix. And Ethan Blackwood, he had tasted their fear, and he wanted more. Ethan crosses another line, threatening lives directly. Ava must make a choice that could destroy her family emotionally, and Daniel is forced to gamble everything on a plan that may fail catastrophically. Ethan Blackwood didn't send another warning this time. He sent action. A single text arrived on Ava's phone. "We have one. Decide fast. EB." Attached, a blurred photo of Lily, in a private location Ava thought was secure. No signature, no threats, just proof. Ava froze. The room around her dissolved. For the first time, strategy and wealth meant nothing. Only her daughter's life mattered. Ava dropped to her knees, phone trembling. Daniel, sensing the gravity, took it from her hand. "Where? Who?" he demanded. "I don't know. It's scrambled. Could be anywhere." Daniel's jaw tightened. This wasn't corporate warfare anymore. This was direct, hostage-level precision. Ethan, in his skyscraper office, monitored the fallout. "Now we see her true weakness," he murmured. "Money can be regained, pride can be restored, but family, that is untouchable." He had forced Ava into the impossible choice, save her daughter or protect her empire. Every second she hesitated, the pressure mounted. Ethan didn't just want compliance, he wanted fear, total moral collapse, and a lesson in helplessness. Ava realized the brutal truth. Any move she made could trigger harm to her daughter. Option 1, negotiate with Ethan, cede territory, concede contracts, and risk showing weakness. Option 2, act aggressively, fight back, risk Lily's life. Her chest tightened. Years of planning, strategy, and ethical grounding had prepared her for every corporate attack, but never for this. She glanced at Grace, who held her hand tightly, sensing tension she didn't understand. "We survive," Ava whispered to herself. "We survive, and I protect you no matter the cost." It was a choice with no victory, only survival. Daniel had only one plan, fast, risky, and brutal. He traced digital footprints, cross-referenced security feeds, and tapped into insider contacts. Every move required precision. "If we fail, she loses more than money," he muttered, sweat dripping from his brow. "We could lose her entirely." Minutes turned into hours. Every tick of the clock was a countdown. Every silence amplified fear. For the first time, Daniel's brilliance collided with uncertainty, and even he didn't know if he could win. From a secure, temporary safehouse, Lily and Grace were quietly aware something was wrong. "Mom, is Lily in trouble?" Grace asked, voice trembling. Ava hugged both girls tightly, keeping composure. "Everything will be okay, I promise." But inwardly, she was racing, calculating risk, evaluating every possible escape route. The lessons she had taught through observation, patience, and awareness were now put to the ultimate test. This was real, life or death, no simulations, no strategy games. Ethan didn't wait for Ava to act. He had already sent a small, anonymous team to test her defenses. A fire alarm went off at the location she believed was secure. Panic ensued. Guards scrambled. Ava's heart sank as she realized Ethan had found the perimeter, the vulnerability, and he could reach her children at any moment. It was the point of no return. Ava made the first move, sacrificing key assets to lure Ethan away from the girls. Contracts were delayed, a major investor's confidence shaken, billions of dollars at risk, but Lily and Grace remained untouched. The victory was incomplete, but it was survival, and survival today was all that mattered. In executing Ava's plan, Daniel had to leave a critical financial position exposed, one that Ethan quickly exploited. "You did this?" Ava whispered. "Yes," Daniel admitted. "It was the only way to save her." Even the smartest strategy came with permanent consequences. Money lost, reputation shaken, assets compromised. Daniel had learned a hard lesson. Sometimes the cost of protecting family was far higher than any empire. Ethan watched the news quietly. Ava's empire had lost billions, investors in panic, and yet she still had her daughters. He smiled, darkly satisfied. "She values family. That's her weakness, and I've proven it. Next time, she won't have a choice." Ethan's plan wasn't over. He had escalated from financial warfare to personal, emotional, and psychological warfare. Ava had survived Ethan's first personal strike. Daniel had paid in permanent losses. The girls had seen danger firsthand. But Ethan Blackwood had learned one thing. Fear works. Control is power, and patience can break even the strongest mother. Ethan takes the war even further, striking at Ava's allies. The twins face their first real peril outside of their mother's protection, and Ava must choose between retaliation and survival, or risk losing everything she loves.
Ethan Blackwood didn't wait. He had learned from Part 7. Ava values family above all. So he shifted targets, not the girls this time, not Ava directly. Her allies, those who helped her build her empire, would pay. Within hours, one of her closest partners, a trusted legal advisor, faced a public scandal engineered by Ethan. Contracts canceled, reputation destroyed, career potentially ruined. Ava saw the news flash on her screen. Her stomach dropped.
"He's cutting off everyone who supports me," she whispered. "He's isolating us." And now the twins were vulnerable once more. Ethan's message came shortly after. "You can try to fight me, or you can watch everyone you trust burn." Attached, photos of Ava's ally leaving their home, looking anxious, financial documents in hand. The implication clear. Ethan could dismantle her empire piece by piece, and there was nothing she could do directly to stop it. Ethan had mastered the psychological battlefield. He wasn't just attacking companies or families, he was destroying trust, isolating her emotionally, enforcing mistakes. Ava realized this was different. He wasn't just testing her, he was breaking her. Ava had taken every precaution to hide Lily and Grace after the last threat, but Ethan was cunning. A security report pinged. A small window breach detected near the twins' safe house. Cameras had caught a suspicious vehicle parked outside overnight. Someone was watching, studying routines. The girls noticed Ava's fear. "Mom," said Lily softly, "is he outside?" "We don't know," Ava said carefully, "but we are ready. We're always ready." Grace's eyes were wide, scanning the room. She didn't fully understand the danger, but she understood enough. Fear, vigilance, and strategy were now their curriculum. Ava's heart tightened. Protecting them meant she had to outthink someone who had studied her every move. The situation demanded an impossible choice. She could strike back aggressively, risking both the twins and collateral damage, sacrifice more of her empire, conceding billions and losing influence in exchange for immediate safety. Ava chose the latter. She called Daniel. "We withdraw. Concessions, full transparency to investors. Give him what he wants financially. Protect the girls. That's the priority." Daniel hesitated. "You're giving him everything again. He'll never stop. He's just escalating." Ava's eyes were hard. "And if we don't, we lose them. Everything else can be rebuilt, not them." She made the call. Assets were liquidated, contracts renegotiated, and sensitive information strategically released. By nightfall, Ethan had new leverage, billions shifted, and her empire weakened, but her daughters were safe. For now. Daniel had been the brains behind every counterattack, but this was the first time he faced a total strategic compromise. "I've never lost control like this," he admitted to Ava. "Every plan fails under him, and we can't risk fighting directly." Ava placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we survive. We adapt. That's all we can do." Even the most brilliant, ruthless strategist could fail when the enemy didn't play by rules, and Ethan didn't. Ethan watched the consequences unfold. Allies destroyed, billion-dollar concessions secured, Ava forced to bend morality to survive. He smiled coldly. "She values life over empire," he murmured. "Perfect. Now she's predictable, and predictable is controllable." Ethan's eyes flicked to the latest intelligence report. Next move? Directly threaten the twins' environment, forcing Ava into a corner. This war was no longer about money. It was about psychological domination. That night, Lily and Grace lay awake, whispering to each other. "We have to watch," Lily said. "Mom's always thinking, always planning. We need to learn too." "Yes," whispered Grace, "we need to see where danger comes from." Ava listened silently from her office. Her daughters weren't just observing, they were internalizing strategy, vigilance, and patience under fear. Even in terror, Ava realized one day they would fight back stronger than anyone imagined. Ava had protected her daughters again, at the cost of her empire, her allies, and billions. Daniel faced a crisis of control. In Ethan Blackwood, he had proven one brutal truth: morality comes at a price. And next, he would strike where it hurts the most, directly, visibly, and irrevocably. Ethan will attempt a direct abduction, Ava will face the ultimate moral gamble, and Daniel must execute a desperate plan with no room for error. Survival and revenge will collide like never before.
Ethan Blackwood didn't wait for negotiations, threats, or ultimatums. He moved. A helicopter hovered silently over the remote safe house. Black SUVs cut off every exit. Security cameras, thought secure, had been hacked. Lily and Grace were trapped. Ava saw it first on her tablet, a live feed Ethan had hacked from the safe house cameras. Her stomach dropped. Fear wasn't abstract anymore. This was real. Her daughters were in direct mortal danger. Ava's impossible choice. Ava's mind raced. Every plan she had made, every defense she had arranged, had failed. Option 1, strike aggressively, risk both her daughters' lives, and risk losing them forever. Option 2, concede to Ethan's terms, give up everything she had fought for, and save the girls. "We have to play this perfectly," Ava whispered to Daniel. "I can't lose them. Nothing else matters." Daniel nodded grimly. "I'll cover the strike, but one misstep, we lose everything. You ready?" Ava closed her eyes. Strategy was no longer enough. This was instinct, courage, and motherly instinct colliding with ruthless calculation. Daniel's desperate counterattack. Daniel moved fast. He had already mapped Ethan's team, the helicopter route, and possible exit points. "I'm going in," he muttered. "We have one shot." He coordinated with Ava remotely, giving instructions for distraction, decoys, and tactical lockdowns. Every second counted. Every hesitation could cost lives. Ethan executes the abduction. Ethan watched the safe house live. "Move," he commanded. A team of masked operatives breached the perimeter. The girls were startled, clinging to each other. Ethan leaned back, cold satisfaction in his eyes. Fear is the ultimate weapon. He wasn't just testing Ava anymore. He was proving dominance, enforcing obedience, and crushing morale. Ava's high-stakes gamble. From her control room, Ava made the call. "Trigger the countermeasure," she said to Daniel. "Do it now." Decoys, smoke generators, and remote lockdown systems activated simultaneously. Security teams converged from multiple angles. Ethan's operatives were momentarily disoriented. Daniel coordinated strikes, guiding the girls' extraction through blind spots. "Go, go, go," shouted Daniel. Ava's heart pounded. This was the ultimate test. Timing, precision, and courage had to align perfectly. One false move and her daughters would be gone forever. The twins' perspective. Lily and Grace, scared but instinctively aware, followed the instructions Ava drilled during months of preparation. "Stay low, stay close," Lily whispered. "Keep calm," Grace added. Even at their young age, they executed strategy under fear. Observation and experience had prepared them for this. Ava realized they were learning survival from their mother in real time. Daniel's sacrifice. During extraction, Daniel intercepted one of Ethan's operatives, drawing attention and fire away from the girls. He was grazed, injured, but continued to direct operations remotely. "I'm fine," he said through gritted teeth. "Just get them safe." Even the most brilliant strategist could not avoid personal cost. This was Daniel's first irreversible physical and emotional toll. Ethan's temporary setback. Ethan's operatives were forced to retreat. The girls were secured. But Ethan wasn't defeated. He knew Ava had risked everything. Every concession she had made, every moral choice had been used against her. She will bend. And when she does, the game is mine. Even in defeat, he was already planning his next move, ruthless, patient, and predatory. The girls were safe. Daniel was injured but alive. Ava had prevented the worst-case scenario. But the victory came at a high cost. Billions lost in empire concessions, strategic positions weakened, allies shaken, Daniel physically wounded. She hugged Lily and Grace, tears falling silently. We survived, and we will fight back, smarter. Ava knew one truth. Ethan had forced her to the edge, but survival had taught her lessons no strategy book could. Ava protected her daughters. Daniel had survived a near-fatal gamble. The safe house was secure, for now. But Ethan Blackwood had tasted both fear and restraint, and he would not stop. Ethan escalates beyond anything before, threatening everyone Ava loves simultaneously. Ava must execute a masterstroke of strategy and revenge or lose everything she holds dear. The stage is set for ultimate reckoning.
Ethan Blackwood didn't leave room for hesitation. He had learned everything: Ava's morality, her priorities, her fears. So now he struck at once: her daughters, her empire, her allies. Ava's city was under siege in every sense. Investors threatened, contracts frozen, allies sabotaged and publicly humiliated, security teams compromised, and a live feed showed Lily and Grace being cornered in a decoy safehouse. Ethan had created a perfect storm of fear and chaos, testing whether Ava would bend or break. Ava's impossible plan. Ava closed her eyes, absorbing the scale of the attack. "He wants everything, at once," she murmured. "Then we'll give him exactly what he thinks he wants, on our terms." She moved fast. She coordinated with Daniel via secure line. Multiple extraction teams for decoy safehouses, strategic misinformation to lure Ethan's operatives, publicly leaked counter-contracts to pressure investors, hidden digital traps ready to freeze Ethan's assets. Ava had sacrificed billions, allies, and pride before, but now everything was on the line. "This is it," Daniel said, tension thick in his voice. "One misstep and we lose it all, but if we succeed, we turn the game entirely." Lily and Grace, trained by months of observation and fear, executed Ava's emergency protocols instinctively. "Stay low, move quickly, and follow the signal," Lily whispered. "Don't panic," Grace added. They were calm under pressure despite their youth. Ava watched through live feeds, heart in her throat, knowing their survival depended on both skill and courage. This wasn't practice. This was life or death in real time. Daniel coordinated a high-risk counterstrike to distract Ethan while Ava rescued the girls. Digital sabotage to disable Ethan's surveillance, financial traps to force his operatives to retreat, coordinated media leaks to manipulate public perception. Every move was precise, every risk calculated, every step reinforced. Ava had become a force Ethan hadn't anticipated. Ethan watched the unfolding chaos, confident in his control. "They have no choice," he said, eyes narrowing. "They'll fold. They always fold." But he didn't anticipate Ava's masterstroke. She had planted decoy safehouses, misinformation, and surveillance traps. As his operatives moved to capture the twins, they were intercepted, trapped, and neutralized without lethal force. Assets were frozen in real time. His public influence began to wobble. For the first time, Ethan realized Ava wasn't just reacting, she was dictating the battlefield. Ava coordinated a simultaneous rescue and counterattack. The twins were extracted from the decoy safehouse safely. Ethan's operatives were contained and tracked. Strategic leaks and media maneuvers undermined his financial influence. Daniel executed digital countermeasures that froze Ethan's high-value assets temporarily. Every move was precise, every risk calculated, every step reinforced. Ava had become a force Ethan hadn't anticipated. Daniel faced a choice: to pursue total destruction of Ethan's empire, potentially causing collateral damage, or secure the girls and preserve moral high ground. "We can destroy him completely," Daniel said, sweating, torn. "Or we can finish this with precision." Ava's eyes met his. "We save what matters. That's all we ever needed to do." Daniel followed her lead.
the victory would be strategic, precise, and moral, not reckless. Ethan's empire was shaken, his operatives neutralized, assets frozen, and influence questioned. He retreated to his tower, fury burning behind his calm mask. "She survived," he whispered. "She protected everything I thought I could control, but this isn't over." Even in partial defeat, Ethan remained dangerous, but Ava had proven she could match his ruthlessness without sacrificing her morality. Ava hugged Lily and Grace, tears running freely. "We made it, together, always together." The twins clung to her, realizing they had survived a battle that tested courage, strategy, and morality. Daniel, exhausted and wounded, stood silently. Victory had a cost, financial, physical, and emotional, but it was earned through resilience and ingenuity. For Ava, this wasn't just a tactical win. It was a declaration. No one, not even Ethan Blackwood, could break her family or her will. Ava had protected her daughters. Daniel had survived a near-fatal gamble. Ethan Blackwood had been forced to retreat, temporarily. But the war was far from over. This victory had revealed one truth: survival and revenge are a single coin. And the next chapter would force Ethan, Ava, and Daniel to confront the ultimate stakes: legacy, life, and love itself.